Hi, my name's Orin, co-founder and director of Bamboo U. I've been working with bamboo for many years, since I was 19. I'm afraid to do the math, but about 15 years. I think bamboo is very powerful and relevant today when we start looking at issues around sustainability, which I believe is really forcing us to innovate and expand the types of materials we use. And so I think bamboo's powerful because it helps us connect something that is actually not a new material in terms of the fact humans have been using bamboo for a really long time. But there's an opportunity now as technology and understanding gets more sophisticated to really take a natural organic material and bring it into the modern world in a powerful way. When you work with bamboo, you're taking away bamboo from the pandas. No, I'm just joking. The biggest misconception I see is that I see two camps. In the places where bamboo grows, people think that bamboo is not a strong material or not a durable material, something that is what we should use if we don't have access to wood. Parts of the world where bamboo doesn't really grow in abundance, I think a lot of people see it as something that's only suitable for tropical places or for kind of specific niche applications, when really I think there's a lot of applications for the material that could help in many different contexts at different degrees of scale, let's put it that way. I think that the environmental capacity of bamboo, so basically our capacity to offset environmental impact and to develop buildings that are much more environmentally friendly, is really clear that bamboo has a major impact, both because it's a carbon-based material, so using it literally stores carbon. And I mean, there's no other plant that you can grow, plant a bamboo seedling today, and after 8 to 10 years, you have a sustainable source of timber for generations from one area that can be harvested annually on a continuous basis. So that's really clear. I think what's less clear is what applications bamboo is really better or a higher performer than steel and concrete. I think because steel and concrete is very well understood and quite easy to implement and very homogeneous, it's harder to implement something like bamboo because it requires a much higher degree of planning and thinking and understanding, and also in some cases risk. There's this positive side where it can help us save the environment and maybe save the world, and there's also this other side which I believe is actually, some people see it as a negative, but I think it's also a positive, which it requires us to have a much higher understanding of the material and require us to innovate and experiment in ways that we no longer need to with conventional building materials. Besides the fact that it's sustainable, if you think about a bamboo pole that you're putting into a new building, there's a high chance that 4 years ago that pole didn't exist. It wasn't yet a thing in the world. If you think about other construction materials like concrete or steel, the sand and the minerals in that have been in the environment collecting for thousands of years, if not longer, right? The first thing is that, you really are using a material where you're taking something with a very fast life cycle and arresting it in order to solve a lot of environmental issues. And then on another level, so besides being sustainable, it's lightweight, which is actually something that's overlooked a lot of time, in the sense that using bamboo actually saves a lot in terms of mass and weight, so you need lighter foundations, it's easier to transport, it's less risky if it's over your head in terms of earthquakes. The last point, which I think is also often overlooked, is that bamboo is so beautiful, and it really connects us in a simple way to nature, and it connects us to ourselves. I like to think is that it makes us really realize that imperfection and differences and variation in material is actually really good. When we see that there is variation and flexibility in our environment, in our buildings, it gives us also permission to be different and to allow ourselves to be unique in the same way that every bamboo pole is a little bit unique. I have the privilege of growing up in a family that has always been very creative and experimental and artistic, and my dad got into working with bamboo by building the Green School, and that really catalyzed the whole movement of creative bamboo construction in Bali and led to the development of Green Village, the creation of a design firm called Ibuku, and a lot of people were really curious about what was happening. And a lot of professionals, designers, engineers, architects, artists, developers, entrepreneurs, like different people from around the world who are interested in making a difference in the world, were seeing what we were doing and wondering, how do I do that? How can I learn more about how they do this? And that's really why my wife and I started Bamboo U. We were already operating in the sustainability space. We were running a lot of different courses related to farming, permaculture design, healthy living, and we figured, well, we have so many bamboo buildings, and people kept asking because we were doing these things in bamboo construction because it's part of our family and what our family business was doing. So I said, let's start running a bamboo course. And it was really a lot of fun to have people come from all over the world with lots of different perspectives. And besides being a chance for us to get to share and teach what we had learned about bamboo, it also gave us a chance to learn and to bring different perspectives and different people and to really help weave the bamboo community together. I think the initial vision was really just to share what we were doing and seeing what people were curious about. And it's evolved, I think, to be a little bit more strategic in the sense that we want to create a platform for different ideas and different experimental versions of what bamboo construction can be in different contexts, really giving that a platform and a voice. So it's branched out from just being about the work that we were doing in Bali to really incorporating lots of different voices and connecting with lots of different versions of how people are using bamboo to solve problems in different ways, but with similar values. So all towards the same goal of how do we make bamboo an important part of the building industry, and how do we use it to be the sustainable timber of the future. I mean, the biggest challenge when you're starting something new is not necessarily knowing how to do it. The first Bamboo U, we launched it and we were hoping for maybe 15 people, but we ended up with 35 people, and we scheduled the course to be the first part much more guided and directed in the sense that we had a series of lectures and workshops that were very instructive. And then the second part of the program is much more hands-on, practical and collaborative, where we give participants a chance to come up with their own designs and also to work on full-scale bamboo structures like real buildings. But the first course, we had this crazy idea that we wanted to get the students to help design this building. And it became the first building to build Bamboo U. And it was a real challenge because we realized this was completely impractical. We gave a day for the students to kind of think about it, but of course, they didn't really know how to build a bamboo building. And so they came up with a lot of really beautiful concepts, but we had a challenge of designing and implementing the fastest bamboo construction ever, which we designed in 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night. And then the next day, we broke ground with students to actually put this building up, because that was what the agenda said. And what I learned was that although I definitely highly recommend lots of due diligence and planning in everybody's bamboo structures, if you need to design and build a bamboo building, or at least design a bamboo building, you can do it in as little as 12 hours. The biggest thing that I've learned about bamboo is that it's very hard to be an expert. The more I learn about bamboo, the less I feel like I know, the more I realize there really is to learn. And we're really in the early stages of understanding this material from a modern perspective. And there's so much opportunity, and we have to learn how to hold a beginner's mind. I believe that there's very few bamboo experts in the world, but I hope there are a lot more beginners with experience. I think people take our courses because they want to expand their possibilities and learn how to design and imagine spaces in a new way. And I think bamboo gives us an opportunity, informs us to really take the limitations of the material as a non-standard round and tapering pole to expand design opportunities. So in many ways, if you look at the beautiful bamboo structures that we are known for in Bali, you have to realize that while beauty and aesthetics and shape are really an important part of the design process, a lot of those shapes and forms are actually informed by the practicalities of needing to design in a specific way in order to protect the bamboo and in order to design for redundancy and to design in ways that is appropriate for dealing with bamboo as a material, which is very strong in tension, strong in compression too, and very weak in shear. Also not square. If you think about a square house, if you're using square materials, it makes a lot of sense to build a square house. But if you're using round materials, building square houses makes less sense. And actually there's this opportunity to build round houses or oval houses or leaf-shaped houses or houses with lots of petals that use different structural techniques than just your standard post and beam. Designers, architects, engineers all have a really important role because they really hold the keys to open the door for people. If designers and architects and engineers aren't learning to use materials like bamboo, there won't be even that as a conversation for clients, right? And so I think the main thing that is needed to move the bamboo industry forward is for lots of different types of people from different industries to work together and to learn to work in new and creative ways in order to create more exceptional and innovative results. And so I don't think there's any magic bullet or shortcut. It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of sacrifice, and I think most importantly, a lot of humility. I think that designers in particular like to design and think that they are imagining something and then finding the materials and shaping those materials to their will. But bamboo is such a strong character that you need to learn how to have a conversation, how to dance with the bamboo, and how to allow the bamboo to inform you and inform how you think. And I think that's true for a lot of different materials, and especially materials that are natural and have a strong character, where they work really well in certain ways and really don't work in other ways. I think that the more people we can get excited about this, the more we can use it, the more we can also generate hope and generate motivation, really inspiring people to realize that bamboo isn't just about being sustainable, but it's also about making a better world and making a more beautiful world, making a kinder world, and making a world where there's more people who smile every day and feel good about the buildings they're living in. So Bamboo U is really a platform, and we don't really know yet how it's shifting public perception in itself, but I feel like it's a really important stepping stone for a lot of different people who are interested in the bamboo world. So we did a poll. We asked our previous participants, alumni, how many people are working with bamboo, and of the people that responded, about half of them are actively engaged in some way in the bamboo industry. So I think that the main thing we're doing is inspiring and building confidence and forging connections. I like to say that we like to break industries and society up into different pieces so that we feel comfortable about it being organized properly. And so we have the designers, and then they finish their design and they make all their drawings, and then the engineer checks it and they do something to it, and then you have the mechanical, and then you have the approval, and then you have the construction people, right? But what I've found working with bamboo is actually, it's not a linear process in a lot of cases. In a lot of cases, it requires a weaving together of minds and people, and all these people have to learn how to be flexible and work together and go backwards and forwards, sometimes go alone, sometimes go together, sometimes agree to disagree, and all really develop the humility to work together in a way that is really constructive and unified rather than separate, kind of fear-based or blame-based. BASE is a really incredible organization because it's bridging, I think, that gap between the theory of bamboo and the practicalities of scaling bamboo, and specifically I think with round pole construction. So BASE helps us connect with really important information particularly in the engineering space, so that we can really inspire confidence and build new pathways to bring bamboo into new places where maybe society is more conservative or people are still having questions and really want to see the numbers. It's not enough to show that we've done it in one location, but how is this going to respond in different locations? So having a foundation, an NGO that's really focused on how can we scale round pole bamboo by doing that hard work of all those tests and then taking that information and directly applying it to actually building things and building many houses, people who need it most, I think is really powerful. And so that helps us have important information and content that we spread to more people and help to weave that group of people. We have a lot more designers and a lot more creative types, so to speak, than we do engineers. And so bamboo in some ways I think inspires creative engineers, which in itself I think is an important contribution to the world. Even if they're not working with bamboo, if we can have engineers that are willing to really think in new ways, it's important. My long-term goal for Bamboo U is to create more collaborations with different, both professional and academic institutions in order to turn it into experimental or design laboratory where we really fuse traditional ideas with modern technology, really find ways to leverage the full power of bamboo as a natural material using both creativity and technology, connecting modern ideas with traditional craftsmanship and traditional ideas. So that's my long-term vision, and so I hope to do that by developing more courses, impacting more people, both in person but also online. My hope for bamboo in general is that we start seeing more bamboo buildings wherever we go, because the more bamboo buildings we can build, the more land we can restore, the more carbon dioxide we can sequester from the atmosphere, the more natural beauty we can see in our built environment, and also the more rural populations we can employ and encourage not to cut down important biodiversity reserves like rainforests. I think that bamboo has a really important role to play transforming our built environment to be much more dynamic, much more beautiful, and much more sustainable.